So Browns are 12.5-point favorites over the Texans. What's the recipe in your mind for the Texans to kind of pull an upset if possible? What does Houston have to do? We've mentioned it's not an uber talented football team. How do they get a win on the road against a really talented Browns team?
So we don't know how this Texans defense is going to respond to a rushing attack that is going to challenge them and is as talented as what Cleveland possesses. Jacksonville had the fifth leading rusher in the NFL last year in James Robinson, and Urban Meyer's staff just decided to not run the football against this Texans team that was the worst rush defense in football last year. And if you think back to last year's game against the Browns, what was it, 230 yards between Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb on the ground? They are going to have to stop the run, and I'll be shocked if Kevin Stefanski is not trying to hammer Chubb and Hunt on the ground and keep the pressure off of Baker Mayfield. This defensive line and these linebackers, this front seven for the Texans, have been untested so far this season and in the preseason from a talented rushing attack. So that's where it starts, because if the Browns are going to run the football, it's going to be far more than a 3-point margin like it was last year. This could get ugly in a hurry if Cleveland's rushing attack goes unchecked. So they're going to try to force Baker Mayfield to beat him. Look, Trevor Lawrence made some nice plays in the first game against the Texans. He just made a couple of mistakes that I don't believe Baker Mayfield would make against this Texans team. There were guys running open, and Lawrence was missing them. The wide receivers were, had a case of the drops on Sundays for the Jaguars. I don't believe that's going to be the case with Cleveland. I know that there's, it's iffy on Odell, and Texans fans were happy that there's, a good chance that he's not going to play, but Jarvis Landry's still dangerous. And then just the physical abilities that the Cleveland wide receivers have, I think is something that worries Texans fans, because Vernon Hargreaves and Terrence Mitchell are the corners on this team, and that is not a talented group. The safety crew that the Texans have is getting a little bit healthier. Third-year player Lonnie Johnson is going to be a key player for this team, so the Texans are hoping he'll be ready to go after missing the first game and being banged up in the preseason. So Baker Mayfield may have the opportunity, and if the Texans can get it the way they want, they're going to try to force Mayfield to pick them apart and hope that Baker Mayfield makes a mistake that they can take advantage of. From the offensive side of the ball, it's going to be run. Brandon Cooks had a huge game against the Jaguars, but a lot of it was off script, and I have to imagine that a more talented Browns defense is not going to allow Tyrod Taylor to be off script and make those big plays with Brandon Cooks. So it's going to be running the football. The Texans have 5 running backs on the roster. They'll probably take 4 into this game. Mark Ingram's kind of the guy, but they throw the ball to David Johnson. They do some trickery with Phillip Lindsay a little bit to get him the football. Tyrod Taylor can scoot a little bit, still got some mobility. It was kind of Deshaun Watson light in that first game with his ability to escape rushes and extend plays, and then he had a nice run in I think it was the third quarter against the Jaguars. So I think for that, they just got to stay within themselves, stay on schedule. Any sort of penalty, any sort of sack, any sort of pre-snap penalty really derails this Texans team. They do not have the talent to overcome negative plays. So they'll need to get into a lot of 2nd and 5s, 3rd and 3s, and just try to make a play. And it's going to be methodical. It's going to be slow. It's going to be plodding in an ideal Texans world. If they have to play from behind, they just don't have the wide receiver talent to really get out and let Tyrod Taylor throw the ball a bunch. So they're going to need to keep this thing close, and they're going to need to run the football effectively. And this offensive line is much improved from last year, so they should be able to run the football a little bit, but they got to keep Cleveland off the scoreboard because they can't win a shootout.